Have you ever noticed that, like, when you speak English, it's almost like you're translating in your head first, and it's like it makes you so much slower.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it can really, like, you feel like you're not as confident, right? Because you have to think about it so much before you can say it.
Exactly, and that's what we're gonna dive into today, like, why is this translating in our head such a problem, and why is it so important to be able to just think in English?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It really comes down to, like, how much brain power you're using just on that one step of translating. It's like, trying to run a race, but you're dragging this big weight behind you.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we drop the weight? Why is thinking in English really that key to fluency?
Well, when you're constantly translating, you're kind of forcing your brain to work in like two separate modes. It's like you said with the analogy, it's like trying to run with that extra weight. You're going to be a lot slower and it's not going to be very pretty.
You're not gonna win any races that way.
Exactly. It's kind of like juggling.
Yeah.
You can do it, but it's going to be a lot less graceful if you could just like focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, instead of smoothly catching and throwing, you're like fumbling and dropping all the balls.
Yeah, exactly. And that fumbling is what causes those awkward pauses, the sentences that sound a little bit stilted, and even like those little grammar slip-ups. Because you're so focused on translating, you kind of lose that natural flow of the language.
Yeah, and like I've definitely made this mistake before, like saying I have cold instead of I am cold.
Oh, yeah, classic. I mean, it makes sense in a lot of languages, but in English, it just doesn't quite work.
Right, and beyond grammar, you're missing all those subtle things like the idioms and the humor that really make a language come alive.
Yeah, definitely. When you think in English, you start to internalize those things naturally. You pick them up just like native speakers do.
So it's clear thinking in English really unlocks like a whole new level of fluency. But what are we doing that's like actually holding us back from getting there?
Well, it's kind of ironic, but one of the things that we think is helping us the most is actually one of the biggest things that's holding us back. Translation?
Interesting. How so?
We become so reliant on those dictionaries and translation apps that we never really give our brain the chance to just adapt to English on its own.
Right. We're not letting it try to figure it out itself.
Yeah, it's like relying on GPS to get everywhere. I mean, it'll get you there, but you never really learn the streets yourself?
Oh, yeah, good.
You're not exploring the city. Another common mistake is getting stuck on grammar rules when you're speaking. Grammar is obviously really important, but you don't want to be analyzing every sentence in your head while you're trying to talk. You're going to sound more like a robot than a person.
Yeah, for sure. I remember like in the middle of conversations, I'd suddenly panic about, is this present perfect or past perfect continuous?
Uh-huh.
And it's just like throws me off completely.
Totally. It's like trying to dance and reciting all the steps in your head at the same time. You're not going to look very good.
Not very smooth.
And then, of course, we have the fear of making mistakes. I mean, so many learners get paralyzed by this. They're so worried about saying the wrong thing that they just avoid speaking altogether.
Which obviously isn't helpful if you want to get better.
Not at all. It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times before you get the hang of it.
Right. But that's how you learn.
Exactly. You have to embrace those mistakes. And
Mhm.
then the final big mistake is not immersing yourself enough in English outside of your study time. Like if you spend most of your day still in your native language, you're not giving your brain that practice of switching into English mode.
It's like expecting to get fit by going to the gym like once a week while spending the rest of the time on the couch.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good one.
You got to move every day.
Yeah, you got to incorporate it into your daily life. So, to recap the big roadblocks, relying too much on translation, overthinking grammar, being scared of making mistakes, and not having enough real-world English immersion. So the question is, how do we get past all of this and actually rewire our brains to think in English?
Okay, let's get to the good stuff. What's step one?
Well, we're going to start with something that's so simple but surprisingly effective, and that is to label your world in English. Just look around you right now. What do you see?
Okay, so right now I see a lamp, my computer, a window.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
you're already doing it. And don't stop there. Try to go beyond just naming the object, like what kind of lamp is it? What's outside the window?
Okay, so instead of just saying lamp, I could say like tall lamp with a white shade or something like that.
Exactly. The more details you add, the more you're forcing your brain to engage with the language and make those connections. And the best part is you can do this anywhere at any time. While you're cooking, walking down the street, even waiting in line at the store. It's like a little mental workout for your English.
A little brain workout. I love it. What's next?
All right, this one might sound a little strange, but trust me, it's a game changer. Talk to yourself in English.
Wait, like out loud. What if people think I'm crazy?
Haha. Well, you can do it out loud if you're comfortable, but even just having those conversations in your head is super beneficial. Like, describe what you're doing, ask yourself questions.
So like instead of just mindlessly making coffee,
Yeah.
I could be thinking, okay, time to grind the beans. Should I make it strong today?
Exactly. You're basically creating this running commentary in English, and that helps your brain get used to thinking in the language.
And nobody can judge my grammar.
Exactly. It's all in your head. All right, so the next strategy might seem a little counterintuitive, but it's really important. Get rid of those bilingual dictionaries and switch to an English to English dictionary.
Really? But those translations feel so much easier.
I know it seems that way, but here's the thing. When you rely on those translations, you're basically reinforcing that habit of going back and forth between languages. You're not letting your brain fully immerse itself in English.
So instead of looking up excited and seeing the translation in my language, I would see like feeling very enthusiastic.
Exactly. You're building connections between words and concepts in English, not just translating them. It's like, learning about constellations instead of just looking at a star chart.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so another important tip is don't try to think in these big complex sentences right away. Start small. Even single words or short phrases.
So like instead of thinking I need to go to the store because I'm out of milk, I could just think store, milk.
Yeah, exactly. It's like learning a new dance. You don't start with like a complicated spin. You master the basic steps first.
Sword simple.
Exactly. Okay, so to build on the self-talk idea, I want you to try to cultivate an inner voice in English.
Oh, so like I have a little British roommate living in my head. Yeah.
Pretty much. The more you can turn that inner monologue into like an English language movie, the easier it will be to just naturally think in English.
Yeah, I like that. What else?
This last one is all about creating the right environment to support your goal. And that is to immerse yourself in English as much as possible. Surround yourself with English media like podcasts, music, movies, books, you name it.
So it's not just about like studying grammar and vocabulary. It's about making English a part of my life.
Exactly. Think about how kids learn language. They don't sit down with textbooks. They just hear it all around them and they absorb it.
Yeah, so I need to create my own little English world.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will feel to think in it.
This is all making so much sense. So we've got our 6 strategies. Label your world, talk to yourself, ditch the bilingual dictionaries, think in simple sentences, cultivate that English inner voice, and immerse yourself. But how do we actually make them stick? How do we turn these into daily habits?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's like any new habit we need to figure out how to make it part of our routine.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, let's dive into some more specific exercises and techniques that can help us get there.
All right, so we've got all these strategies, but like, how do we actually use them? How do we make thinking in English a real habit?
Well, it's all about consistency, right? Like building any habit we have to find ways to make it part of our daily routine. So how about this? Start and end your day with English thoughts.
Like, what do you mean?
So when you wake up in the morning, instead of just hitting the snooze button or whatever, take like a minute to think about your day in English. Like, what are you going to do? What are you excited about?
So instead of just thinking, 5 more minutes, it's like, good morning world, time to get stuff done.
Exactly. And then at night, before you go to sleep, kind of do a little recap of your day, but in English. What were the highlights? What did you learn?
I like that. It's like a little English sandwich for my day.
Haha, exactly. All right. So here's a challenge for you. Ready? Set a no translation rule for yourself for a certain amount of time every day.
Okay, so like for 30 minutes, I can't translate anything in my head. I have to force myself to think only in English.
You got it. It might be tough at first, but that's where the real growth happens. You're pushing your brain out of its comfort zone.
A little language detox.
Yeah.
I'm in. What else?
All right, remember that self-talk strategy. Take it up a notch and actually talk to yourself out loud in English.
Wait, really? Out loud? Like even if I'm alone?
Yep. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's actually really helpful. You get more comfortable with the sounds of English, you work on your pronunciation, and it builds confidence because nobody's listening.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like practicing for a presentation, but with no pressure.
Exactly. Just let the words flow. Don't worry about being perfect. You can talk about anything. Just get those English muscles moving.
Awesome. Any other exercises we can try?
Here's one. Try using English while you're doing those everyday things like cooking or cleaning. You know those things you usually do on autopilot?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So like if you're folding laundry, instead of just zoning out, think to yourself, okay, I'm folding the shirts. Now this one goes in the drawer. This one needs to be hung up. Just simple things like that.
Bringing English into those boring moments.
Exactly. It's a sneaky way to practice without really feeling like you're studying. Okay, so for this next one, I want you to dig out that old journal if you have one.
A journal. Oh, man, I have written in one of those in forever.
Well, it's time to bring it back, but this time, write in English. It's a great way to practice expressing your thoughts in writing, and you can really see how much you're improving over time.
Okay, I like that. It's like I'm having a conversation with myself, but on paper.
Exactly. So we've got our daily exercises, English thoughts in the morning and at night, the no translation challenge, talking out loud to ourselves, using English for simple tasks, and journaling.
This is great. But, I'm kind of expecting that there are going to be times when my brain is just like, no, I want to go back to my native language. How do I deal with that?
Totally. Those moments are going to happen, but don't worry, we've got strategies for that too.
Okay, good. Like, what are some of the challenges we might face, and how do we overcome them?
One of the biggest ones is that feeling of being stuck when you just can't think of the right word in English. You know what you want to say, but it's just not there.
Ugh, yes. That happens to me all the time.
So
Frustrating. Should I just give up and translate?
Nope. Don't translate. Instead, try describing the word in English. Think about what it looks like.
So, like, if I can't remember the word for microwave, I could say, like, the thing that heats up food really fast.
Perfect. You're working around that translation block and forcing your brain to think in English.
It's like I'm making up my own definition.
Exactly. Another challenge is that feeling of discouragement when you feel like you're not making progress fast enough. I mean, learning a language takes time, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's easy to get frustrated and feel like giving up.
I know. But one of the best ways to stay motivated is to actually track your progress. Keep a record of what you're learning, whether it's in a journal or just notes on your phone, and then go back and look at it every now and then. You'll be surprised how far you've come.
It's like seeing those before and after pictures.
Exactly. It shows you that even those small steps add up over time. And just remember, be patient with yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, good reminder. Celebrate the small wins.
Okay, so another challenge is that tendency to overthink grammar when we're speaking. Grammar is important, of course, but if you're constantly analyzing every sentence, you're going to lose that natural flow.
Oh, yeah, I do that all the time. I end up sounding so robotic.
It's like trying to dance and think about all the steps at the same time. Not very smooth. So the key is to shift your focus from analyzing grammar rules to just absorbing the patterns of the language. Immerse yourself in English. Listen to how native speakers talk. Pay attention to how they structure their sentences.
So I should be training my ear, not just memorizing rules.
Exactly. The more you hear real English, the more you'll internalize those grammar patterns without even realizing it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. In fact, embrace them. That's how you learn.
It's like learning a new dance by watching somebody else do it first.
Wow.
You see the moves, you feel the rhythm, and then you give it a try.
Exactly. And then, of course, we have the biggest challenge of all, our own native language. It's like our brains are wired to think in our first language, and it takes a lot of effort to switch over to English mode.
Yeah, it's like my native language is this comfortable old sweater that I don't want to take off, even though I know I should.
Haha. I love that analogy. But just like changing any habit, it takes time and practice to retrain your brain. Start small, Instead of trying to think a whole conversation in English, just start with a few words or phrases.
So, like, build up to it.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable, you can start thinking in longer and longer chunks of English.
Okay, so it's all about starting small, being patient and consistent.
You got it. And remember, the goal is not to be perfect. It's to progress.
I feel so much better now knowing that those challenges are totally normal and that there are ways to overcome them. So we've talked about the why, the how, and even the what-ifs of thinking in English. This has been super helpful.
I'm glad.
So what's next?
Well, now that we've covered all the practical stuff, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture. Why does all of this even matter? Like, what are the real benefits of thinking in English beyond just, speaking more fluently?
Okay, yeah, that's a great point. Let's talk about that. Okay, so we've talked about all the practical stuff, like the how-tos of thinking in English. But now I'm curious, like, what's the big picture here? Why is this so important?
Right. It's not just about, being able to order a coffee faster or something. It really changes how you experience the language.
I see what you mean.
It unlocks a whole new level of fluency. I mean, we talked about how it makes conversations smoother and everything, but it goes even deeper than that. When you can think in English, you actually understand the language on a much deeper level.
It's like you're not just translating the words anymore, you're
Yeah.
actually getting the meaning behind them.
Yeah. Exactly. You're picking up the nuances, the humor, all those little things that make a language come alive.
Yeah, and that deeper understanding opens up so many possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. Like you can watch movies without subtitles, understand jokes better, even start to think creatively in English.
So it's not just about speaking. It's about really connecting with the language and the culture.
Yeah, it's like you're building a bridge between your world and the English-speaking world.
I love that. It's so much more than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
Right. It's about expanding your horizons and becoming a more confident communicator.
Okay, so we know that thinking in English is super important, but we also know that it's not always easy. What advice would you give to people who are really struggling to make that switch?
Well, first of all, remember to be patient with yourself. You're literally rewiring your brain. It's like creating new pathways in your mind.
Right, it takes time.
Exactly. Don't expect it to happen overnight. It's like learning an instrument or a new sport. You wouldn't be a pro after just a few days.
Good point.
And just like with anything new, celebrate those small victories. Every time you catch yourself thinking in English, even if it's just for a second, acknowledge it. Be proud of yourself.
It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to try different techniques to see what works best for you. Some people love watching movies, some people prefer journaling. It's all about finding what keeps you engaged and motivated.
So find what you enjoy and make it fun.
Yes, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it. Learning a language should be an adventure, not a chore.
Well said. This has been such an inspiring deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on what it means to think in English and how it can really transform my language journey.
That's fantastic. And as you continue learning and exploring, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. How could thinking in English enrich your life? Think about your goals, your dreams. What doors could this open for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. It could be anything from traveling the world to connecting with people from different cultures to even landing your dream job.
Exactly. The possibilities are truly endless when you can think and communicate freely in English.
So inspiring. I hope our listeners are feeling motivated to go out there and make it happen.
Me too.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into thinking in English. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.